Hi, Vivi and Kerry back today, talking about some more financial tips for consumers. Vivi, I've been hearing a lot of people complain about bounce checks lately. Something that people used to talk about was float. They used to know they could write a check out, mail it off a couple days ahead of time, and it would take so long to get through the system that it was like free money. But with changes in the processing system at the Federal Reserve and all financial institutions, float just doesn't exist anymore.
Do things get processed within, say, a day now?
Sometimes they do. There's even the electronic checks. I know one of the payments I make, it shows up in my statement where the check doesn't come through. They actually scan the information and send that information through to withdraw from my account. Very quick.
I know I've looked at my home banking and I've seen the stuff pending sometimes. So I understand that the checks and other payments are processed much more quickly, but it's interesting that it shows pending, so it's hard to know how that affects my balance.
That is something that's changed a lot in the past 5 years. People have begun using debit cards much more on their accounts. One of the things you will find is current balance versus available balance, and you know what? Neither one of them are the number you actually need to keep track of. What happens when you use a debit card and they swipe it to make a purchase? Sometimes a hold for the amount of the purchase actually goes into the account, and then the payment or the purchase clears a day or two later. That creates a situation where there's a difference between your current balance and the available balance because those funds have been put on hold. Other times, though, the reserve isn't put on there, but the purchase is in process. So if you look at your balance, you may believe you have money just looking at that number, but when the purchase clears, bang, you've bounced a check. Not a good thing. There's no way around that from the financial institution point of view. It's the way the system works. It's the way the payments come through.
I guess each individual just has to keep better track of their funds.
Absolutely.
Keep the receipts, maybe use their check register to keep track of things and write everything down, especially withdrawals and purchases you make just with your debit card. It's easy to forget to write those down.
Absolutely. People used to carry a check register when they actually wrote a lot of checks. But when they started using the debit card, they don't like to take the time at the checkout to actually write down their numbers. And personally, I don't like them doing that either when I'm behind them in line. But it's real easy to just take your receipt, drop it right in with your register at a certain place. Every time you make a purchase, make it a habit, and it's easy to keep track of what money you actually have then.
So Kerry, are there other ways that people can avoid bouncing checks?
There's one more that I've used. I've set up 2 separate checking accounts, and I automatically transfer into the one checking account every pay period all the money I need for all the bills. And my automatic bill payment works right out of that account.
Oh, smart.
So my separate account is just play money.
Yeah.
It's the money I use for my daily activities, my purchases, my groceries, my lunch. But I never worry about, oh, did a bill clear yet? Did I write a check for that bill? Because that's all taken care of automatically in that separate account. It's really made life easy for me.
And I guess if you know how much play money you have, you can budget better for it. You can figure out how much you can spend at eating out, entertainment, clothing.
And as we talked earlier about keeping track of your receipts and your expenses, I don't have to keep track of all the bills on there. I just have to keep track of my personal expenditures on that one account. That makes that mental tracking much easier, much simpler.
Might take some worry out of people. So.
Absolutely. Makes it easy.